2edu. Podcast o szkoleniach, prezentacjach i technologiach wspierających rozwój. Jeśli zależy Ci na efektywności szkoleń i interesują Cię nowinki techniczne, ten podcast jest właśnie dla Ciebie.
Let's start with a short introduction of who you are, and if you can please introduce yourself to my listeners.
Yeah, my name is Anton Bollen. I'm the technology evangelist for the company TechSmith, makers of Camtasia and Snagit. I started my career as an instructional designer, creating a lot of video content, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, I moved from America to Germany, and I'm still doing some instructional design, but I'm much more focused on finding out what the needs of the European customers are in regards to e-learning, technical communication, and other types of content. So I'm trying to be more of the middleman in between the people that are actually using our software and the people that are creating content on a daily basis, and making sure that feedback makes it back to the United States, to the company, so they can turn that into features that then again help the end users in their plans.
Okay, that's cool. And we've just recently talked about the video. The video is one of the themes of learning recently. So, what is your perspective? What are your insights on using video? Is it growing? Is it slowing down? Where we are with video for learning?
Yeah, video for learning is a very exciting topic right now because it's definitely growing. Video generally is growing. If you look at the YouTube usage statistics, when you're looking generally the trends, how people are consuming information nowadays, it all comes back down to video. And one good example is nowadays when you ask especially the younger generation if they have a problem, how do you fix, let's say they need to fix their washing machine or they need to do something, how do they get the information? And the answer in many cases will be video. So there's this cultural change where people are now looking for videos in order to find the informations, because they've realized that the videos can provide instructions in a very disciplined manner and in a very visual manner that helps them get it right on the first time. So it's very, very efficient. And so as a result of that, it's the use of video and the demand, especially the demand for video, I think is increasing across the board in all industries, in all use cases, obviously in learning as well. And so this is a development I definitely welcome. I think it's very good, but we're also starting to kind of reach the limitations of videos at some point. So for one, video I personally don't find video to be very scalable. If you're when you start to offer the same information in many languages, all of a sudden videos can become a lot of work and very expensive. Another issue I find is updating old content. It's a lot easier to update a text document than it is, for example, to update a produced video that's hosted somewhere on your internal intranet and replace that. Because once you do that, a lot of links will break and so on. So there's a lot of things that the learning industry still needs to optimize and figure out on how we can provide video training and video content that is scalable, that is flexible, that's easy to update, and most importantly, is not going to break any existing processes or documentation that are already in place. So we're at the beginning of a long journey when it comes to video, but I think for the learning landscape, it's going to continue to play a very vital and central piece.
What is the difference between the video that you just record and put on YouTube and the video that you will use for, let's say, learning?
Every video can be a learning video, so even something rather simple that you just recorded with your phone, how do I use my coffee maker, something very simple, it provides the information, but usually when the content you find on YouTube is not attached to a larger learning plan, it's not part of a bigger picture. It's small pieces of information that you can access when you need them, where you need them, but when you're trying to get employees or co-workers from point A to point B in their learning process, just individual unstructured snippets are not necessarily the best way. And I think that's where the difference comes in when you're looking at real learning videos that are produced, because there is much more thought behind it, more planning behind it, and usually there's also a much more defined goal behind the video in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, where they want to take the viewer, and also what they want the viewers to do next.
My next question is about if I'm an instructor, if I teach in the classroom or I do workshops, etc. What is in the video? Should I be interested in looking at the video delivery? Should I deliver a on YouTube? Should I add it to my class? What are the trends or what are the easiest things that you can possibly do with the video?
First question you have to ask yourself is, who do you want that content to see? Who's your audience? And if the content you're producing is intended for a larger audience, or you don't mind other people looking at it, I think YouTube is a fantastic way to publish it, because that's where people are looking for information. YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet right now, after Google itself. So if you provide informational content, learning content, and you make it available on that platform, chances are really high that people will find it, people will look at it, and people will learn from you. If that is your goal, definitely do that. However, if you're dealing with information that is not necessarily intended for the broader masses, or you're trying to provide a different learning experience, I would look at other platforms, intranets, places like Wistia or Vimeo or other things, where you have more control over the learning experience. That is one thing YouTube does not give you. People will watch your video and you have no control over the related videos that are showing up. You have no control over if they watch additional information, if that information is still accurate. So it has the upside, the big audience, being able to reach a lot of people, but the downside of YouTube is really that you have very little control over the learning experience that comes with it. And so as an instructor, as a teacher, you have to ask yourself, what's more important to you, and what are you trying to accomplish? And in a corporate environment, I tend to recommend more the closed-off environments, because they do give you more control. But if you're really just trying to promote yourself, or if it's really information you're trying to make accessible to a lot of people, I think YouTube is a wonderful place to go. And going one place never means you can't go to another place as well. So I know a lot of instructors that design their learning in an internal platform, they publish it there, but the content also gets cross-posted on YouTube just to increase the footprint it has.
Why are master instructors or just instructors or experienced people not doing the video? So what are the reasons behind the fact that only few, especially I try to watch what's the tendency here, only few, maybe even younger people trying to publish videos, and experienced instructors like masters of craft of teaching are not so willing to go online with their content. So how do you think? What are the constraints? Why they are not doing this?
I think some of the restraints why people are not going online with their courses or not creating videos is that they don't know how to, and they're afraid to do it, because they think they have this assumption that video is only something that an agency or Hollywood can provide. They think it's really expensive, it's very time consuming, and if you're not trained, people might think they don't have the skills to do it. And to some extent that might be true, but in the last couple of years a lot has changed. It has become a lot easier to make video content. There's many good tools out there that help you with templates. There's a lot of courses and designs that help you do it. And one thing I think that's really important for instructional designers or trainers in general to remember is our goal is the transfer of knowledge. We're not trying to make a Hollywood movie. We're not trying to impress the audience with explosions and special effects that, yes, are expensive and time consuming. But we need to look at video as an efficient means to get our point across, and also take our information, the knowledge we have, and package it in a format that can easily be shared. And if we see those benefits, and then we also start creating our own content, and we realize that the production of video, yes, it takes some time, but it's not as much time as most people think. It can really be a great medium to start using. And that goes back to another point I had earlier, like the younger generations that are now joining the workforce. They are demanding video. They want to learn through video because that's what they're used to. And if the company you're working for is not providing this type of learning to its new employees, there's a good chance those employees will look for another company that provides better, more modern ways of training and skill acquisition. So there's many reasons to use video, and video shouldn't be scary. You should not be afraid of creating video, because anyone can really do it.
Where should I start? Should I take my presentation and try to talk to this? Should I write a script? What should I do? What is the first step that you would recommend that instructors should take?
Right, so if you're an instructor and let's say you've been teaching via PowerPoint presentations in front of a large group regularly, I would take one of your very basic presentations, the one you know really well, the one you're really good at, and I would definitely try to do that presentation while recording your computer screen and turning that into a very short video nugget you can share with your audience. So for example, you no longer, if you're doing an introductory course, try taking that segment, that information that's just very black on white, very factual, and make a video out of that and make that available just simply by recording PowerPoint. There's even a feature in PowerPoint that allows you to do that. There's plenty of tools, so that's not the problem anymore. And then make that video available to your audience, because it will have the side effect or the nice effect that the audience, the people you're trying to teach, they can watch the video again at a later time. And so you don't get bothered with the same simple questions about the introductory course anymore, because you can simply refer to the video. And I think that is the best place to start. Take some information you already know and already have prepared, but rather than presenting it in class or in front of a group, turn it into a video. Try to keep it short. Don't make it fancy. And keep in mind, it's really just about getting that information across and making that available in an online format that can be watched over and over again whenever needed.
You're recommending something like a flipped training, right? So I should take part of my class and then try to deliver this online and maybe do an icebreaker, right, or something like this. And but what are the tools? Of course, I know that Camtasia and Snagit can do it, but are there any tools that are free just to start with them, so that are free and easy to use?
Yeah. So if you're starting to create your first online video, the easiest way to do it is simply recording your screen, and there are free tools. So if you have PowerPoint installed, it has a record your screen functionality built in. If you're using a Mac, QuickTime has it built in. Other free tools are Screencast-O-Matic, for example, Screener, Jing there's more free screen recording tools out there than I can possibly list in this podcast right now. And these tools are fantastic to get started, because they're simple to use. They don't overwhelm you with a lot of features. They really just let you focus on what's important, and that is your content. And then once you've become more familiar with this general process of recording, you're more comfortable just speaking at the camera or speaking at the screen, then you can move up to advanced tools that allow you to do a little bit more editing to make your messaging more concise, bring those to the point. So one of the tools are, for example, Camtasia from the company I work for, but also Articulate Storyline lets you do a lot of that. And then there's also built-in tools like iMovie and Windows Movie Maker. So there is definitely cheap and free options out there. And in order to create learning videos, you definitely don't need the big and heavy tools that cost many euros and are overwhelming in terms of their features and time that would take to create content with them.
So if you are to give 3 tips to the person that will record the training video for the first time ever and preparing the whole setup, what it would be? Okay,
so the 3 tips I would have for the person who's creating their very first training video would be to make sure you're using decent audio, or you have a relatively good microphone. Keep in mind the idea behind it is, if the audio is good, the people can actually focus on the content and they don't have to focus on trying to understand you. And so you don't need an expensive audio setup, microphone setup, but something like a simple USB microphone, which are available for like 20 euros, 30 euros, make a huge difference, and it will make you sound more professional and clean. A second tip I would give people is definitely to prepare yourself a little bit before you start your recording, and that could either be writing a script where you really lay out word for word what you want to say. Though oftentimes, especially at the beginning, I find it easier to do an outline with bullet points and a few key sentences that you simply have on a piece of paper next to your screen. It allows you, in Germany you would say der rote Faden, the red string, it allows you to kind of follow your pathway, your learning path. You make sure you don't forget any important things during your video recording. And so some sort of preparations like that is very good. And then the third one, I think, is always try to keep it short. It's easy to talk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but the tendency or the learner's preferences tend to go towards smaller units. So if you have a topic, think about whether or not you can maybe break that out into 2 or 3 or 4 shorter pieces and then record each of them individually. It's easier on you because it's easier to record a short video, but it will also be easier on the viewer, who can then watch the smaller chunks of the video when they need it, as they need it, and it will provide a better learning experience. So in summary, do some planning, record short sections, and then also make sure you're using fairly decent audio.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your time. And the last question that I have is, where can we find more information about you and about your company?
If you need to find more information about TechSmith, the easiest place to do is go to techsmith.com. That's our English-speaking website. We unfortunately don't have a Polish website, but maybe in the future. And then if you're looking for more information on me, find me on Twitter @Anton Bollen. I usually tweet about flipped classroom and e-learning type stuff.
2EDU. Podcast o szkoleniach, prezentacjach i technologiach wspierających rozwój.